Oh, yes. I should do that, shouldn't I? There we go. Okay, you ready? Call this meeting to order with the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prayer. Fred Palmer's on the agenda? Okay.
No, I came to take his place.
Okay.
Usually, so I'll have some patience with me. I just want to thank you for letting me come and offer a prayer. I grew up in a small town in Michigan called Coldwater. The only reason I'm bringing it up is in my business I've traveled around the country a lot, and so many people know where Libby, Montana is, which really amazes me. And a lot of them have been there, but nobody I know knows where Coldwater, Michigan is. So anyways, if you bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, this great country of ours was established as one nation under God, and prayer was a viable part of the nation's origin by us following your precepts and principles, and by honoring you as God, we have been allowed to prosper. Thank you for each member of the City Council, and it's my prayer that we as citizens and those of you as City Council members will always look to you, God, to guide us and make our decisions using godly principles. We thank you and praise you for allowing us to live here in Northwest Montana amongst the beauty and access to your creation. We also ask for your protection and guiding hand to be on our community. Thank you for the time and effort put forward by each council member here in making Libby an even better place to live. We pray for your blessing to be on us and on the decisions made here at these meetings as we abide in you. All this we ask through the merits of Jesus Christ, your Son and our Savior.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Mayor Williams.
Here.
Councilor Burke.
Here.
Councilor Berger.
Here.
Councilor Ian Smith.
Here.
Councilor Kristen Smith.
Here.
Councilor Taylor.
Here.
Councilor Zimmerman.
Here.
Roll call is complete, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Welcome everyone here. Welcome those online. I have announcements to a reminder that the final leaf pickup will be November 13th and 14th. And then tomorrow's election day. If you haven't already done early voting, the polling place for the city of Libby is at the Memorial Center. And so hope everybody gets out and casts the ballot tomorrow. Our order of business is to approve the minutes from special council meeting on September 16th, the regular council meeting 1661 on September 16th, and our regular council meeting 1662 on October 7th. Did everyone have a chance to read those minutes?
Make a motion we approve meeting minutes 1661 and 1662.
Second.
Okay. Are there any corrections, additions, or comments about the minutes?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Council meeting 1662, I'll abstain from voting. I was not present.
Okay. Any other corrections or comments? I'll open it for public comment. Any comments on public comments? Mr. Orr?
Once again, PC Orr 1117 Fad Avenue. Once again, you've produced minutes that aren't accurate and don't reflect the substance of the matters discussed. Where it says that Mr. Orr does not agree with how the agenda is set, that is not true. I followed policy and was standing up here just doing exactly what I was supposed to do. And what I disagree with is the fact that my opportunity to speak was censored by a mayor. And you have 6 people here sitting here that are still allowing the mayor to censor who gets to speak to the public on the agenda. That's just censorship, pure and simple. The mayor will not allow any issue on the agenda that she opposes, even if requested by a council person. And several of you I know have had that happen. So that's inaccurate. Also on the other one, where it says that Councilman Smith called a point of order, and the question is about comments on the appointee. That was an invalid point of order that the mayor did not ever rule on. It's right there in the minutes that Councilman Taylor had inquired about any conflicts of interest. And so when I started talking about conflicts of interest that already exist on this council, then Councilman Smith interrupted me and wouldn't let me finish. And she has the biggest conflicts on the panel. My comments were pertinent to the question, and the mayor has a habit of not ruling on the point of orders, especially from Councilman Smith. The mayor will not rule on them, so that it just, again, censors whoever it is that's speaking. It violates my rights to participate, and I want that noted in the minutes. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Okay, seeing no other public comments, I'll bring the discussion back to the council and ask the question again if there's any corrections or additions council members would like to make to the minutes. Then all in favor of the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. The ayes carry it. The minutes are approved. Move on to committee
Sorry.
reports.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Two.
That was just for 631, 1631,
I was doing them all in bulk.
Yeah, 1661,
The motion was all
1662.
the special meeting though.
What?
I didn't hear you say the special meeting.
I just said for meeting minutes, 1661 and 1662.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you left out the special meeting. Okay, so do this.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the special meeting.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. So, any additions or corrections to those minutes? Then, all in favor of approval of those minutes?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Your voices all blended together, so opposed and, okay, 3 and 3. So what's your objection to the minutes? When I asked for corrections, you didn't give me any.
Well, I'd like to see the substance of what Mr. Orr was saying put into that you know, he feels as if he's being censored.
I agree.
So the minutes are
But the
actually a
min-
reflection of what actually was said and happened at the meeting. Feelings that were not expressed are not accounted for in the minutes.
Those, what he just said would go into tonight's meeting minutes, not these
Not what was
minutes.
the record.
That's not true. The first one was where you censored me.
I don't remember censoring you, but whatever. Okay, so the corrections for these minutes.
I don't believe that Mr. Orr's comments are reflected in the minutes.
Okay.
I would concur with that.
Yes.
Okay, so how would you like to have them added in?
Actually, I have to re-listen to the minutes to see exactly what the exact comments was, but I do believe there's more to it than what reflects here.
Okay,
I believe there
then
was a
let's
recording
just
of the
withdraw
meeting.
those special meeting minutes and go back and,
There is a recording online.
okay?
Mhm.
You can go back and listen to it, and we will address these minutes at the next meeting. Okay? That would bring us to the committee reports. City Administrator's report.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council, the sewer main replaces, as you can see around town, they're getting completed. There's been a whole bunch of snags that have come up as we're digging into it, find all kinds of treasures. The street supervisor's had more of a hands-on with that, so he'll be going more in depth in that during his report. The sewer plant now, we're having a lot of issues. Someone started dumping grease down the sewer drains in large quantities, which is creating up to a 2-foot gelatinous blanket over the top of our oxidation ditch and our clarifiers. We've been getting out a lot of overtime now to try to maintain it, because what happens if we can't get that grease out of our system, it depletes the oxygen, which the bugs have to survive on inside the oxygen ditch, and there's a chance that it could actually go over and be discharged into the river, and that would be against our discharge limit. We could be fined. So what's going to be happening is we've ordered some chemicals that we can add to it to try to get it down now. We have been paying overtime. We're getting with the Department of Health, because they're not allowed to dump grease down in large quantities. So we're going to start kind of a public campaign to inform everybody that you can't dump grease down the drains. Part of their inspections are going to make sure that they're looking and saying, where's your contract, get rid of your grease, how do you do it to make sure it's all being done properly. I'm going to be getting with the sewer plant and the streets department, and we're going to kind of start seeing if we can't track the grease inside the sewer mains to get it closer around so we can try to find and identify who's doing it. And at that time, we'd have to take corrective actions against whoever was doing that. So that's going to kind of be going through the next few months. Yes.
Madam Mayor, is it food grade grease or petroleum based grease?
It's food grade grease is what we found right now. Okay, the old Headwork building in 1987, they built that plant down there. It was 87 or 84. Well, the other day they looked up and the tin is starting to slide off of the roof, just like snow. The tin itself is. So they got up there and looked, and the complete roof, half of it's rotting out, all the plywood substructure and the tin. So we went ahead and had a contractor come over there, the one that could, and it's going to be around $12,000 to get that repair, depending on what they find. So we're hoping to get that repaired because we want it done before the snow flies this year. I just point out that the kind of deferred maintenance like this is exactly why we had to look at our rates, because we have to bring in the adequate funding to do roof repairs and building repairs, and we got 2 pipes up in the roofs that are leaking in the other building that we're also getting taken care of. The maintenance has been put out, we can no longer do that. So we are literally on top of it now.
Did that go out to bid?
It's under 80,000, so it doesn't require to go out to bid. We contacted 3 different contractors. There was only one that could actually come into town and get it done. The other ones would be a week before they could even come give a quote. So we went with that first one. It was Ryan Westland was the one that came in. The 2 pumps, main pumps that feed the 500,000 gallon storage tank at the top of the hill finally came in. Right now they're trying to get electricians and plumbers schedules again, because it's a rather large project to get that going on. I talked to them, and usually at this time of year we start having a problem with turbidity and leaves going and clogging up everything. And we're not seeing it so far this year. And with not as much water going through the plant, it's just everything's running really smooth. So those leak surveys and repairs have been making a huge difference for us. Right now we're working on the open cut mining permit with the DEQ. The old permit had 40 acres on it. They just kind of blocked off a big chunk of land and said that's what we're going to be doing. Since we're amending it anyways, I went ahead and we're paring that down to 29 acres that we're actually mining. We're not mining the other side of Pipe Kick Road with that big bank. What that's going to do is going to reduce the stage soil requirements that we have to have on hand for when we do reclamation, so that'll help us out a lot. The wells, I went onto the DEQ website. It's so far off, it's incredible. And so I was out today taking pictures, and I'm going to be getting with the DNRC. I can get access to their database, so we'll be making sure Libby's all up to date with that. The one good thing is we don't have to hire an engineering firm or a surveyor for this. Being a government owner, we can do the boundary coordinate tables all by ourselves and everything. So I'm working with them, and they said we should not have a problem with any of these. And that's my report, Madam Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Is there any
Thanks, Sam.
questions or comments for Mr. Sykes?
Oh, one minute. At the last meeting, people were asking about capacity of the water and sewer.
Okay.
I did a little math. Right now, the sewer capacity, we can handle 500,000 gallons a day. Our current average is 280,000 gallons, so we're at 56% of capacity in sewer. So we have a lot of growth that we can do. But we are already trying to plan for another 15 to 20 years from now to get a second ox ditch and a third clarifier that would expand our capabilities. The water capacity, the plant is designed for 4 million gallons a day. Right now, our average is about 1.2 million if we count the winter and the summer months, so we're at 30% of capacity on that. So we have plenty of capacity for more improvements, which will be better for proportion of responsibility, the more customers we bring on, so the rates wouldn't have to raise up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Apologize for not being here last month's meeting. Paul Mill, a lot has been lately. So we've been, as you can probably see around town, been very busy this year, more so than years past, with the leaf pickup using sweepers. There's been a lot of question as to why we're out so much and why we're burning so much fuel and why are we doing it when it rains and etc. So we're just trying to stay ahead of it, because once that leaf mat gets deep, it becomes hard to manage and pick up. So you're wasting more time, spending more time unclogging the sweepers than you are actually functioning. We've been patching potholes, trying to get some things buttoned up, some of the larger obnoxious ones prior to snowfall and freeze. We've been continuing on with our jetting sewer mains. As Sam said, the Flower Street, Nevada project is complete. That portion, that schedule is done. So we had 3 conflicting mains at that intersection. So the water main had to be realigned over the sewer main that was replaced, which also entailed removing and replacing the storm sewer manhole because it was placed directly over the sewer main, which created the conflict. So they basically poured concrete over the sewer main, the old existing one, and then set the sewer or the storm sewer manhole over the top of it, which then became captured to that concrete. So it was a direct T-bone as far as them being able to move forward with the sewer main replacement. So all that had to all be ripped out in that whole intersection. So that added days to the project. Unforeseen stuff that's in the ground. I like to call them anomalies and targets. By all means, the TCIs have been doing a great job as far as doing the job, and then of course that's go through engineering and that whole process, which all last time. So with that, they got the sewer main in, pressure tested, passed, new water main, that section of that, and they had to put a new storm sewer vault in, which had to realign storm sewer pipes out of the catch basins to report to the basin itself. So it was a pretty big ordeal. They worked through that detail, so that schedule's done. Right now they are about 80% with the alley that's back behind Johnny's. As the sewer main replacement is completed, pressure testing, they did that, it's passed. A portion of that water main had to be been ripped out during that process because it was in direct conflict with the sewer main in that process, and such that it was right directly over the top of the sewer main, which was not in today's specs, is not ideal for being appropriate. The DEQ is what their standards are. So that portion has been replaced with the same size pipe. With that, makes it us bringing it to current city standard at no cost to the homeowner. So we've been new meter pits, curb stops, meters will be coming out of the house going to meter pits. So this cleaned all that up, and we've gained ground on 6 properties there as far as being up to current standard. And today, so they got their signage up, working with the Department of Transportation. on California there in front of Pizza Hut, so from Highway 2 to 10th Street. So they did some saw cutting today. Barricades are up. I'd imagine they're probably going to be starting that detail tomorrow for that sewer main replacement. Water plant. The water plant had a leaking process line. That line fed the cat pump, which is utilized for the cleaning process. The water plant, so it's a very critical link. As Sam said, the replacement pumps finally arrived, so that coordination will be coming together, get scheduled together so we get those pumps replaced. Those pumps feed the water tank, and they also for fire water and the residents, the whole area up there between Bow and Shaughnessy Hill. So pretty critical pumps that will be replaced hopefully soon. 3 of the 5 hazard trees in Fireman's Park Campground have been removed. The crew has also spent quite a bit of time trimming trees around town that overhang city streets along our winter plow routes. That hadn't been done in 4 years, so we had a lot of damage, potential damage to personal vehicles, public property, and our city equipment as far as being able to get in and plow and or sweep. So that they spent quite a bit of time cleaning that up. I think it looks a lot better than it has in the past. Sprinkler blowout and winterization of all city properties, that's going to have been completed. Fire department concrete is about done for the year. There's one little portion right at the end where the 2 sidewalks join, right at the corner of 6th and Montana. I believe he is intending on, when I spoke to him last week, getting that poured this year. And then there's this one little section of sidewalk for next year. With that, we had to raise a catch basin up. We took a lot of slope out of that. It was just a big hole. It was about a 17, 18-inch drop from asphalt elevation to the catch basin grade itself. So that's just a product of overlay. So we fixed that. We got some others that we want to get done next year as well. Paving was completed out in front of that, the fire hall. We got some paving wrapped up on 2nd Street, Louisiana and Poplar. There's new sidewalk curb and gutter on 3rd Street. That'd be the Jeremy Agnes property. Thank you, Brian. So that looks nice. It was old square curb. There'll be a little bit of detail that we will perform in there this next summer. Get that cleaned up. It's an improvement for the city. We had 1 sewer main backup on Nevada Avenue. Rags were the culprit there. We've been busy working in the shop, getting the equipment serviced and ready to go for winter plowing. So we're just going through and make sure all the hydraulic lines are good. Hydraulic fluid's up to snuff. We got good tires, brakes, lights, functioning wipers, heaters. I mean, all of the critical things that you need to be able to see and perform your job safely and efficiently. Guys are doing a great job. They've been extremely busy just with a lot of that detail on this final button up of some things around town. And that brings up ordinances. So ordinances of blowing leaves in the city streets, plowing or shoveling snow in the city streets and alleys is prohibited. Please don't do it. Please be observant of the seasonal parking ordinance that runs from November 1st to March 30th of 2025. Downtown city streets is from 2:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. And the north and south streets are from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and east-west streets are 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Please be respectful and mindful to the plow operators and the detail involved with that work. Just a friendly reminder.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire report.
Libby Volunteer Fire Department responded to 8 calls in the month of October 2024, 3 calls in the city, 4 calls in the rural fire district, 1 call was outside of the city and rural fire district. 3 were mutual aid with Libby ambulance, 1 false alarm, 1 power line, 1 fuel hazmat spill, 2 miscellaneous. They're sitting at a total of 71 calls in 2024. And On another note, they do have the concrete job in front of the hall is still in progress, and the city ballpark training center Legion concession stand is winterized.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance Committee?
The ordinance committee met on Wednesday, October 23rd, and discussed 6 ordinances and an update to our current parking ordinance that were presented by the chief of police. Although the chief was not able to attend the ordinance committee meeting, Officer Luthi was and guided us through their need for those changes. And so those will be coming forward to council for consideration. They're currently in review with the city attorney. We had 5 members of the public present and offered some comment, and committee made a few changes to what was presented. But I think overall it's a recommendation.
Okay. And I did I jumped the gun a little and put it on the agenda for tonight, and so we will be pulling item number 3 off of the new business when we get there, because we don't quite have those ready to go. So that brings us to the zoning commission.
The zoning commission hasn't met. We don't have any planned meetings, but we do have our zoning recommended changes on the agenda tonight.
Okay. That does it for committee reports, and brings us to public comments of non-agenda items. Oh, I'm sorry, skipped you, police. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Evening, Madam Mayor, Council. October was a good month. We had 207 calls for service where the Libby Police Department was able to respond and assist our community. Last year, we had 132 calls. This year, our officers responded to 2 assault cases, 7 threatening calls, 12 disturbances, 25 suspicious persons or cars, 11 crashes, 13 theft cases, 3 cases involving juveniles, and 41 traffic stops. So officers stayed rather busy this month, but they were excited about it. They were able to stay visible throughout the time. So things are going up. And Friday, Officer Smart will be graduating the academy, so we're really excited to get him back. And he will be graduating the top of his class. So we're very proud of all of his efforts there. And the training staff there has spoken extremely highly of him and his attitude. So we're very fortunate for that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Chief Arkenbart?
I have a comment. So I'd like to kind of go back to last meeting where we kind of discussed the grant, the Lore Foundation.
Yes, sir.
I feel as if I owe you an explanation as to why I voted nay. And
Okay.
my issue is that I feel like our priorities are in the wrong direction. I feel like we should be focusing more on the equipment issues that the officers are having, the vehicle issues, things of that nature. And we should kind of be putting, these axillary things to the background. Now, I'm a shooter. I use that range a lot, but I feel like we're talking about community outreach. It's going to be a really bad day if your officer can't get to a call because of a vehicle issue or something along those lines. That doesn't really help with community outreach.
Absolutely.
So that was why I voted nay. I want to see kind of the grants go in a different direction as far as making sure that the equipment is correct, the officers have what they need, things along that line.
Absolutely, and I 100% agree. Unfortunately, at this time, some of those grants aren't available for us. I'm currently working with the Rural Agricultural Foundation in the same grant we used prior to receive 3 vehicles. So that is in the works currently, and we're still waiting to hear back from the Tourism Committee as well. That is on our dockets. We're working forward through it. The firearms grant was just something that just kind of plopped up, and we were excited to jump on that. But the vehicles, as always, are a massive priority for us.
And I'm glad you see kind of things the same way that I do as far as that's concerned. So, that's it.
Any other comments? Thank you very much. So now we come to public comments on non-agenda items. If you have a public comment on an item that's not on the agenda, step to the podium, state your name and you have 3 minutes. Mr. Orr.
Yeah, I'm DC Orr, 1117 Nevada Avenue. Mayor and council, I looked through the minutes. The last 4.5 years since the IP contract was up, I have stood up here and repeatedly asked for information on IP negotiations. And I have repeatedly been told they're stalled, nothing's happening. So imagine my surprise when I walk in here on September 16th, I believe it was, and find the mayor and 2 council members in a meeting with EPA. That meeting was not noticed, as is required by law. And then I had Sam, I heard voices back there in the mayor's office, so I went back, the door was open, went back to see who was there. Sam came running down the hall screaming at me, I mean screaming at me, telling me, no, you can't go down there. It disrupted the whole meeting, and the meeting broke up after that. But it was an illegal meeting anyway and should have never happened. Now, what that did is that got me to go talk to a lawyer, and actually the whole premise for your IP settlements may be false. And that may be why you're meeting secretly with the EPA, because EPA set that up so that the city is the aggrieved party. The city is not the aggrieved party. Everyone in this city who has groundwater under their house that has been destroyed are the aggrieved parties. That calls for a class action suit, and the money goes to the people who were actually harmed, not to the city of Libby. You guys may be stepping on your own toes here, and you probably better get trusted legal advice. Now, you tried to fire that attorney one time. By unanimous vote, you did make a vote to search for a real attorney. And yet somehow that legally binding vote just kind of fell by the wayside, and you're still taking advice from the same attorney. You're headed down a rocky road here, and I'm going to pursue this with my lawyer, and I'm going to pursue it at the EPA level and ask them why they're meeting with you guys secretly. That'll be an OIG investigation. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Okay, seeing no other public comments, we move on to new business. First item of which is to approve resolution 2043. The owner requested annexation across the street of the Clark property. And Resolution 2043 is extending the corporate limits of the city of Libby, Montana to annex within the boundaries of the city an irregular tract of land lying east of the city of Libby, for which the owners have petitioned for annexation and is described herein as southwest quarter, southeast quarter of Section 3, Township 30 North, Range 31 West, Lot 7A of Certificate of Survey 4917 relocated boundary. Whereas Eric and Sarah Clark, 100% owners of the property described herein, filed a petition with the city administrator on the 10th of June 2024 requesting annexation, and therefore the city council considered this petition for annexation pursuant to the statutory annexation of municipalities providing services methods set forth in Title 7, Chapter 2, Parts 47, Section 4705. And whereas the property described herein is currently zoned in Lincoln County within the Kootenai Business Park Targeted Economic Development District, it is the intention of the city of Libby to annex the property with the city zoning of business residence. And whereas the city clerk did publish notice of the proposed extension of the city limits on October 2nd and the 16th, 2024, as provided in Section 76.2303 MCA, and whereas the City Council did on 21st of October hold a public hearing during its regularly scheduled city council meeting to hear all matters pertaining to the annexation of the above described parcel. And whereas the city council did on 21st of October 2024 adopt resolution 2042 with the intent of annexing and zoning the above described parcel, and whereas it is hereby determined by the Libby City Council to be in the best interest of the city of Libby and the inhabitants therefore, as well as the current and future inhabitants of the lands to be annexed that are described herein, which lands are contiguous to the corporate limits of the city of Libby, be annexed into the city of Libby, and it is hereby declared to be the intent of the city of Libby that the corporate limits of the city be extended to include said lands described herein within the limits of the city of Libby. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the corporate limits of the city of Libby be extended to annex the tract of land herein described and shown on Exhibit A attached therefore, and be it further resolved that the tract of land herein is zoned business residence, and be it further resolved that the minutes of the City Council of the City of Libby, Montana incorporate this resolution, and be it further resolved that the city clerk is hereby instructed to certify a copy of said resolution so entered upon said minutes, further that this document shall be filed with the office of the clerk and recorder of Lincoln County pursuant to section 724607 Montana Code annotated. This annexation shall become effective from and after the date of the filing of said document with Lincoln County Clerk and Recorder. So,
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution number 2043.
okay.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
I think it's important to annex properties that are getting services, so that they pay the proportionate share of taxes and help spread the burden around.
Okay.
They can get services, but if they're not annexed, then we're kind of subsidizing it. So I think it's a really important city municipal government extension power.
Any other comments? Okay. Any public comments regarding this resolution 2043? Mr. Orr?
Council seems to be ignoring the fact that Port property has their own sewer system. Port property could upgrade their sewer system and use it for port property. What you guys are doing here, you don't have a cohesive, consistent policy with how you're going to allow port sewage into your city sewer. Councilman Smith just mentioned that she thinks they ought to pay taxes, but I don't think that Nomad is paying city taxes, and yet they're in the city sewer system. You guys need to get together and get an inventory of what all is down at the Port Authority that is dumping into their sewer system. You need to find out why they won't upgrade their own system, because what they're doing is, by not upgrading their system, they're forcing all the costs of maintaining sewer on their property, their non-city property, onto the city taxpayers, ratepayers. You guys are sitting here allowing that. You had Sam just tell you we're at 56% capacity. There are some expensive repairs that need to be done, and you guys need to be chasing that by the new developments down at the Port Authority. Make them come into the city, make them pay city taxes, make them definitely pay impact fees. I don't know if this resolution has even mentioned impact fees. You guys understand impact fees, don't you? If they hook up to your system, they have to pay for the impact to the existing infrastructure. I don't know if you guys know that, and I don't know if you're going to see that it gets paid. you guys don't discuss any of this stuff publicly, so the public doesn't know what you know or what you're trying to hide. You guys need to be much more transparent, much more vocal about what you're doing, but you're definitely setting up a case for favoritism. Some people get to get on the city sewer and stay outside of the city and not pay city taxes. Some people have to pay impact fees. Some people don't. That's just a recipe for corruption. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments? Any other public comments on Resolution 2043? Then, seeing no other public comments, I'll bring the conversation back to the council table. Does council have any comments or questions before?
Well, I think if any of my co-councilors have questions about the fundamentals of the infrastructure and how it's paid for, they should see Mr. Sykes. I think we've had a couple of presentations on it before, and we heard last time that the port system is not operational, nor do they intend for it to be.
Okay, any other comments? Then all in favor of Resolution 2043?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. The Resolution 2043 passes, and we will proceed with annexation. That brings us to the zoning districts, residential A, A2, B, and residential business. This discussion only tonight. Ms. Smith did provide us with a memo regarding the recommendations and some notes concerning these zoning districts. I hope you all read that. Did you want to review any of them?
No, but I will just, the reason that one district, I think it's business residential, looks like it was bled on a lot more, is because after the presentation last year, those changes were incorporated, and so what's in red in A, A2, and B are changes since the presenting it to council. So those are the modifications that were made.
So let's talk about Residence A district, and I'm going to ask each council person for comments, questions, and how they would like to see anything changed. I'll start over on my right with Ms. Berger. Do you have any?
I sit on the zoning committee.
So you're okay with the
good
presentation?
Yep.
Ms. Berg?
The only thing, I had a couple of notes that I made.
Okay.
In 17, 12, 100 on page 3 at the bottom.
Okay. Thank you for that reference. Okay.
Yeah. Letter B, non-permanent parking structures. While something is being constructed, some people can't pay to have a whole thing built, and they need their cars covered. I mean, I don't really like this in there. I know it's for aesthetics probably, but I don't think there should be a time limit on how long someone can have whatever they can afford to cover their vehicle with.
Okay. So you'd like to see that struck out?
I don't like that.
Okay.
I think people should be allowed to have whatever carport they can afford to have. And then also I had to think about it for a while after the presentation, and that propane tanks in the front yard, which is the next one down, seemed very specific to one house. So as long as it's not unsafe, I don't know why it couldn't be where it is. I feel like it's a lot of the way it looks type of thing. And then, that was it from this one.
Okay.
That was all three of those actually, A, B, A, C, and D on that same section.
They were just carried from one section to the others.
Yeah, no, and I know they're not red, but there's something that I just have a feeling that that it's not the best overall covering for everybody.
Okay, so you included A in the comments?
I didn't, sorry, I didn't mean A, it was B,
Oh,
C, and
B,
D,
B, C, and
actually.
D. Okay.
Because the recreational fires, I mean, within 25 feet, I mean, there's some yards where you can't put it 25 feet away from your buildings, and I think
That's actually a fire code recommendation.
I was going to say, if you flip the page, it's see International Fire Code Section 307, open burning. So it's part of that.
operate within 15 feet. It's 15 feet.
For a portable outdoor, like that one is, the 15 is for a portable, like little
So like
thing.
those solo kind of.
Yeah, like a
or
little metal
versions of those.
thing or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Portable, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess if that's fire law, but I just know that there'll just be quite a few people that aren't legal,
Okay.
me included.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, so, the garage or carport thing, again, I take issue with that, I feel like, and I understand the aesthetic part, but, when and where people can put them is kinda, it's a big deal. And I've seen some really nice houses with, garages that don't actually, that don't abide by this. Actually, my house, you could argue that my house has, the frontmost part of the house, the garage, the carport is right, almost up to the city, almost up to the street.
Just a second. This is not about garages. It's about those portable garage
It
car
says
covering structures.
garages or carports.
Where are you?
We're talking.
First page, section
Oh,
B.
you went to a different section. Okay. Okay, where are you now?
Subsection B, garages or carports.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
was my issue, that you could
Okay.
argue that, the front of my house that the carport is too close, or it's in the front. I feel like that should be amended to let people kind of have carports where they need them. The home occupations may not consume more than 1/2 of the interior space of a house. My question is who's going to enforce that? How, you have, Coldwater Creek is a perfect example. They started in their garage and they worked out, things got bigger and bigger. A lot of small companies at first are working in their houses. I don't feel like we should be limiting what they can and can't do in their own house that, doesn't affect anything. As long as you don't have foot traffic coming in and out of, impacting that way, I don't see why, for instance, if you're doing an online business, how that even, would even come into play, or who would enforce that or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure that's existing with our current code. I don't think that's anything that changed.
Well, if we have this ability, I'd like to see it changed. And then, yes, the propane tanks. I know there are people who have propane tanks where they have to put propane tanks. I don't think that front yard, backyard, I don't think that it matters. I think that if they have to have a propane tank in their front yard, that's where it should be. And then I know we understand the international fire, talking about the international fire code, but I feel like if you burn your house down because you had a fire, a portable fire pit too close to your house, that's between you and your homeowner's insurance, not something that this city should be involved in. But those were the changes that I'd like to see.
Ms. Smith?
I don't.
Okay. Mr. Taylor?
I concur with the rest of my council members on the garage and carport on the first page, and the restrictions on 17, 12, 100. And I know that a lot of time and effort's gone into all of these residential aid, residential aid to business residential. In the PowerPoint we had last meeting, there was how annotated time, how timed our zoning is. change just for the sake of change, I don't necessarily think is a good thing. This word aesthetics keeps getting thrown around, but that's all in perception. I like red cars, you like blue cars. I mean, it's what's aesthetically pleasing to you may not be aesthetically pleasing to me. Limiting what people can and can't do on their own property, it's not a health violation or a public nuisance. The codes we have in state in place today was 1987, I believe, was in the video. Is that correct?
87 is when.
Was last updated.
Yeah.
Well, that you say, well, if we put these carports in the front yard, property values drop. Well, our property values are higher than they've ever been with these carports in the front yard and with carports. I mean, that's when there's necessity to change something, I understand. But just to change. That's where I kind of have a problem with a lot of this.
Okay. So we're kind of all zeroing in on the same
Yeah.
topics.
And I'm sorry, I
No.
did forget the one thing that Ian brought up on that first page B down there under accessory uses. Because I believe when looking at it, it's behind Maggie's Casino or what Gold Pan now, sorry. Those townhouses, the 5 that are there. And I know there's in some of the, depending on where you look and who's building them and what their spec homes are, but some of the garages sometimes, to have a garage and included with this amount of space on a small lot, they end up being pushed out, the garages, sometimes 10 feet or so. And so that is something when we've been talking about the last couple of years in the housing and trying to deal with some of the new rules and laws from the state and everything else coming down to try and help with that. I don't think we should be setting a standard that kind of impedes the improvement to help with more housing.
So what I'm hearing is that most people would like to strike section B, garages or carports. But is there any alternative that someone would like to propose? Okay.
I mean.
So no alternative wording.
Well, wouldn't it just fall into like the setbacks? Like ultimately? Right. That's where it could just sit.
Okay.
I don't know the wording, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone could make a motion to strike that.
Strike section B.
I make a motion we strike B, section B.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We will strike section B of accessory uses. Is there, not quite how to address the home occupations? Those are generally piano teachers, accounting people with very low impact. So is there proposed alternative wording?
Well, it's also, I think it's largely been working, this particular provision, since 1987. I mean, unless someone has knowledge of somebody who's using their whole house as a business in a non-business sanctioned district, and they're going to comment or complain about it.
Well, I'd like to say that I have a YouTube channel. I do a lot of YouTube videos. I do a lot of stuff in my house. Like, how are we going to argue that it's only 25% of my house when I'm using all of my house to film YouTube videos?
I wouldn't consider that home occupation, I guess.
Well, I'm making money doing it.
So,
And it's just you, then it's just your impact,
Yeah.
I mean, in the world of planning, and I mean, this is, what us nerdy planners talk about is just how that fits. That doesn't rise to that.
I do think you have to think of the impact you would be having on residential A district if you decided to open it up for occupations, businesses, then it would no longer fit within that zoning of residential, primary family residences.
It seems like it's just reiterating that you can't be like running a business, like
Right.
having a bunch of foot traffic and stuff. I don't think it pertains to single person or whatever, just one person doing something, like a YouTube channel. I don't even think that registers. Huh?
Or maybe Avon or something.
Yeah, just, yeah.
Yeah, but you have Avon parties, that could boost the residential traffic.
Sure.
You could have Tupperware parties, I mean, that's my issue.
I still don't think that's like registering as, is that registering as?
I mean, I guess if it's every day, if it's an everyday occurrence and you have traffic, you know, it could be a complaint that someone would want to lodge, but, you know, everything with our zoning district is complaint driven. Again, it's, you know, we live in a city, we live with a social compact, and we try to have trust and live with harmony. And so we read the rules and try to abide by the rules, and it's only the outliers that are the ones that, you know, are constantly pushing it. And we've seen that. We've had to pursue people who pushed it.
Okay, is there consensus? Okay, let's just address 1712-100. It seems that what I've heard basically is that you'd like to see B and C struck. And you can, well, you could strike D. I don't think that would change the outcome, since it would still be a code through the fire code.
B and C.
Well, yeah, once somebody make a motion.
Yes.
To
Make a
cover that one at a
motion to remove B and C in 17.12.100.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries, so we will strike those. And so before we move on, does that, with the exception of leaving D on home occupations open for continued discussion? Okay, so assume that when we go to residence A2, those same items would end up striking B.
Correct?
Yes.
And then over
Page 4.
page 4, okay.
And so,
B.
in A2, the non-permanent parking structure wasn't carried forward.
Okay. So
it'd just be
so
B.
it just B.
Does everybody follow?
So B
Yeah.
and B,
Just B.
B and B.
Okay. So striking those two items, is there anything else that you want to address in AE or resident A2?
I'll just briefly remind everybody that A2, formerly known as C, was a district that we created specifically to address a particular subdivision that was entirely built to the wrong setbacks. So otherwise it's the same as A.
So
I see the recreational vehicles only park in backyards.
I beg your pardon?
Recreational vehicles must only be located in rear yards.
Yeah, where's that?
I'm on C at the very last page, so 4.
Recreational 5
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry, I forgot my notes, so I had to get photos.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, RVs was pulled
RVs got-
out and done separately.
Oh, yeah, my
Okay.
apologies.
Okay, so, Mr. Taylor, anything else in A2 district you want to address?
I still would like to address the recreational fires and would be located in the rear yards. I mean, we're gonna do the whole 25-foot rule. You should be able to kind of have a fire wherever you want, as long as it's 25 feet away.
Okay. We'll see if that rear yards is actually in the fire code. Oh, or is
It's
that?
25 feet.
It's the 25 feet that's in.
From the structure.
Okay.
What if that puts a fire by the sidewalk? And little kids, fire.
I have seen people on Halloween have front yard fires, but not on as a regular basis. So, anything else in that district?
Are we addressing the home occupation on this one as well?
Yes. Well, I'm putting question marks beside that for further look at trying to figure out wording.
I mean, it's very specific. It says does not generate traffic. It does not invite on-site customers or direct sales. But anything else you do inside your home, nobody cares.
But direct sales, isn't that Avon, Tupperware, those are considered a direct sale business?
I'm not
Scentsy.
sure, so I think
Are
of
they?
those as more.
Yeah.
Any type of party you're having.
I think they're classified as direct sales.
Anything like that.
So,
Like I say, you're not doing it on a daily basis. You're not having parties and people in and out.
It's the wording though, like on-site customers or direct sales.
So, does everybody remember the permanent yard sale?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Right. So that was an ongoing business happening in a residential area. So, I mean, if someone who really wanted to use this, I guess, and push the envelope, then we have to make something else. I don't really know. Again, it's been operating since 1987 without a lot of issues.
Can we
Correct.
just leave the home occupations as customary home occupations, blah, 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 that do not generate traffic who are from the residence, period? Get rid of invite customers, direct sales.
Still feel like that's a problem with the having parties.
How many parties?
Did you get that?
Tupperware parties is one person
I
going
have
to
no
I get
idea.
it.
That's just it, so why
Usually
worry
those
about it?
go
Right, well, that's what I'm
are
saying, why not
traveling to
just
other
drag 'em
people's,
back?
or
Just leave it.
now they're
Been
even
there for
on totally
40 years.
online.
Right. Yeah, this isn't even something that got changed.
Mm-mm.
This is not new.
Nope.
Mm.
So just leave
But
it alone?
we can check a couple of other cities to see how they address it.
That's a good idea.
Yes, the zoning commission did that. I mean,
Oh, did you?
You know, that's what the zoning commission does, is we try to do all of that research and present to council.
Is this similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah, I remember we
we
looked
pulled
at this
from
one.
different communities and modernized the language a little bit to just make it clear.
Has a motion been made yet?
No, not in the ones that have made we've dealt with.
Okay.
For A2, you mean?
Yes.
For A2. We,
Yes.
We made a motion?
Yes.
I didn't.
I know we did.
A2
That
is
Leanne
done.
does.
Okay, the 17-12-100, that was done.
we were striking the same things out of A.
And then striking the same
Melissa
things out of A.
seconded A2 and Gail seconded A.
I don't have anything for this. You guys were just talking
Yeah.
about
So
the
it's
same
like-
things from the previous one.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion, resident A2 district, under accessory uses B, we strike, and in section 17.17.100, B as well.
A second.
Oh, wait.
We did this.
Wait, that part was done.
Oh, I
That
flipped
was-
I flipped the page too far. Sorry. That was the one, okay, B.
It was B.
That's why it was.
B and B,
B,
yep.
yes, okay.
We
So,
just did this motion, I'm just telling you, we did, yeah, and I denied it again.
Yes, I was here for that.
We voted?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
17-12-100,
Oh,
B and C are struck.
yeah, and I was just carrying those over to the striking
1712
amount.
is A, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we're on 1717, which we voted.
That
Brian
is-
moved, Melissa seconded,
Okay.
and it was 5-1.
Okay, so we're taking the same B and B out.
Yes, and I thought
Okay.
we were moving now
And-
on to residency.
okay,
We got sidetracked with the home
okay.
Okay.
Alrighty, sorry.
Sorry, just trying to help.
And
I was just
questions
making,
about rear
I was just
yards.
making sure we were moving on.
Okay, so now residence B, striking the same accessory unit B in the same, A and B are the same.
Sorry, there's a comment online.
Okay. Okay, so you would be striking the same accessory use in B and outdoor features 17, 12, 100, the same A and B.
Correct.
Okay? And then the same discussion on the home occupations and the same question on fires in rear yards.
Okay.
Okay?
So I'll make a motion, resident B, accessory use B, we strike, and under outdoor features, storage and temporary storage, 17, 12, 100, A and B.
Okay?
I'll second.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we're striking those. Now, is there anything different in resident B that you would like to address?
Yes. Landscaping, I just saw landscaping in there, I don't quite understand that. What would be the need?
Okay, where did you just see landscaping?
17-16-060.
06.
So.
Oh, landscape, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in residential B, this is a more intensive use in this district than residential A, which tends to just be predominated single family.
Yes.
So this residential B, we would allow for something greater than 45 feet. It's going to be providing multiple housing, but the commission really thought there should also be some landscaping with that.
So
They
the,
would present.
so,
So
okay.
they would present a plan,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, you know, we've seen some new multi-dwelling units erected around town, and they look very barren. So, you know, for those people who are renting and they don't have a yard, I think it's important that there be some little bit of, I think that's what the commission was interested in.
So are we saying they have to plant trees and landscape? Is that what that is?
So, Gail, remember when we were discussing this, the way it's written, it says the conditions will be placed on such projects, including but are not limited to landscaping and increased setbacks. So depending on how high, right, they want to go. Because this originally had a height limit of 75 feet, and most people did not realize that. Which is pretty high, and can be pretty impactful to neighbors.
Right.
So,
But I wasn't
we
worried about the
recommended lowering the
height.
height, but.
I was worried about making them plant trees.
Well, that could just be grass
Or
or
grass.
landscaping.
Junipers,
Yes.
potted plants.
A koi pond.
A what?
What?
Oh, yeah, I want a
Koi
koi
pond.
Koi
pond.
pond.
I totally want a koi pond. Okay.
So I guess I'll put it on the record that I don't necessarily agree that we should be making businesses landscape because it offends our eyes or whatever the case may be. It may look barren, but it's more money that someone's going to have to invest in landscaping. So I would like to see that just voted struck down.
Okay, you said businesses, this is residential
Or
B?
well,
Okay.
we're talking about apartment complexes,
Okay. I just wanted to,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So, what is the,
Sorry, did you make a motion then, or?
Oh, okay. I'd like to make a motion that we strike down 17-1 or 70.16.060 subsection 1 landscaping.
I'd second that.
okay? Gail and Melissa.
We're discussing the height.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, we have a motion on the floor
Mhm.
to strike down landscaping. Okay.
I'll
So,
second it.
it was seconded.
Oh, I don't know what's going on.
That's why I'm trying to bring the discussion back. So all in favor of striking down landscaping on section 17-16-060?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, can you give me a show of hands? Okay, and so in favor of striking it down, all opposed?
Aye.
I think we need to discuss it just a little bit more.
Okay.
Like how, landscaping can be very detailed, or can it be, is this can it be very simple, lay some sod? Is that
So,
landscaping?
the way this
Few
is
rocks?
written, it says if someone wants to build a building that's greater than 45 feet in height, then it needs to come to zoning commission for design review.
Sure.
I don't think we've seen a building that's proposed to be greater than 45 feet in height. So I don't know, I'd be very curious, but I think I think a lot of people would be very interested in a building that height that was going in a new.
Yeah.
Right, to put that into perspective, Hotel Libby is 48 feet.
Okay,
So
That's
just
a
to
pretty
give
big
you,
building.
It's
yeah.
a big building.
Mhm.
In a neighborhood, right?
Right.
In residential B. And so the zoning commission, in discussing this, again, because the current district, the way it's currently written, allows for much higher building heights, and I just don't think most people are aware of that. So in exchange for lowering the heights, well, let's just at least make it look like it's an inviting place to live for the residents.
And I guess, you're not talking like crazy perfect, it would have to be manicured, I'm sure, but not,
Not all
I feel like it could be
fancy.
pretty simple landscaping
Yep.
that you're referring to, especially for this area. I don't know.
But in this section, we have just about everything in the world spelled out under definitions except landscaping.
Right.
Side yard, front yard, backyard, dwelling, half house, full house. So that leaves way too much interpretation.
Well, we could
Well-
certainly present a definition for landscaping. which would go into the definitions section.
I have a suggestion, if we change will to could. Could be placed instead of will be placed.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
That,
I could get on board with that.
I have one question. Mrs. Smith, you said that before the building height was at 75 feet?
So currently 17.12.020 reads, no building shall exceed 35 feet. Churches, schools, or any other public building permitted to be constructed may be built to a height of 70 feet or 6 stories.
Okay.
That's the way our current
okay.
code.
That's why I was just wondering, after you'd said that, why it maybe wasn't in red, that it was being changed. That's all.
Sorry.
45 feet.
45 feet. I knew 7 was in there somewhere. And it still says the same. May be constructed to a height of 70 feet or 6 stories.
Okay.
17.16.020.
Anything else in that section?
So, can we change will to could? Is there
There's already a motion on the floor.
just
I
ties?
did not vote I wanted to keep the conversation alive, so that I would have voted to keep that, to not strike that, and so, but I think we've worked it out as the conversation has gone along.
So replacing could and getting a definition for
Of
landscaping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, I agree with that. That's good.
Okay.
So do we need a new motion to do that?
I think you could do that.
Or does
It
it
seem,
need
the
to- or-
consensus seems to be,
I just want to make sure we're doing it right, so I didn't know if Ian could
No.
just change it,
No.
or...
no, I would
Okay.
vote,
So,
truthfully, I'm forgetting which way I need to vote, but the second one. I was against striking that in order that the conversation would continue, which it did, and therefore came up with a better solution. Okay? Yes.
So
Okay,
we'll-
so we need a motion for residential B. With those changes?
I'll make a motion, you want to?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yours
a
started.
motion for residential B with the changes to 17.16.060 to change will to could and add a definition for landscaping.
I
A
think-
second. Sorry.
Do we still need to strike B?
Strike A, strike B.
I think we addressed those as, did we not?
I thought we did those, maybe not.
I thought we did those coming into the section.
Alright.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, you made a motion. Did we get a second?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so motion carries. We'll replace those words and find a definition. Okay, business residential being renamed residential business. Actually, it's business residence. I keep saying it incorrectly, so changing to residential business. What items in this do you want to address?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I've got lots of problems in this area.
Okay.
We started out with the initial 30, chapter 17, 2010 says within any business Used arranged or designed to be used except for one of the following, and right away, right out of the get-go, we start saying only certain businesses, but you can't have apartment houses. People that bought this property, I've actually had 4 of them reach out to me that have plans on putting some of this stuff in these places, and we're gonna tell them, no, they can't. Types of buildings, location of buildings. First is currently a business resident district, looking to change that and limit the possibility of business for the greater good, under the greater part, excuse me.
I think, Councilman Taylor, you misunderstand the language. So the very first permitted use is any permitted use in A2, a residence B. So everything we've talked about, including apartment buildings, would be allowed in residential business. One of the major issues with this district, as it is written, and Mr. Sykes can probably offer some insight on this, is that there are no sidebars. And it's raised a lot of questions about how something is to be interpreted, setbacks, etc., has not been consistently applied. So the zoning commission said we need to put some parameters on residential business district because it does border residential districts. As it is written now, currently, our current business residence district, anything that wants to be a business in that district has to come before council, and that does not change. We have conditional use permits applied in other areas of our code, and so this would be changing that to be consistent with those other things instead of just sort of, it kind of willy-nilly. So it would apply the same conditional use permit process that we do with our other conditional use permits. And so depending on what somebody wants to propose in a new residential business district, there could be a variety of things that get added on. And if we wanted to, I can't think off the top of my head what it might be, but then council might say, well, okay, we'll let you do that, but you have to do this. You have to either provide extra parking or, provide steps in this location. It could be any number of things based on what kind of business they were. So it sets out a better framework, I think, for the council to operate under. And again, it adds those parameters for setbacks that were not present previously, currently in our current code. So if you look on page 2, under performance standards, it very clearly states the setbacks shall be consistent with residential B, which are less than residential A. And the height should be similar to adjacent district boundaries. So you don't have a 60-foot building next to a 25-foot building. So truly the intent was to make it more clear for people in this district, have a little better sense of predictability for people, residences who live in this district who are going to potentially have a business located near them.
And I think that's important to remember, that most of these districts are residential first and commercial has come later. So we're trying to not disrupt the residential part of it any more than necessary, I guess.
But that's what we're currently doing, changing it from business first to residential first, business second.
But it has always been considered residential first. It's just not been stated. And so by adding a purpose statement, it clarifies. You couldn't just go open a business in a business residential district. You have to come get permission. You have to. That's the way it's currently written.
So the people who are complaining to you, what are they, which part are they addressing?
Well, there's several different things they're looking at doing with a few of the spots, and like I said, we're gonna go from any business to certain businesses. Instead of placed permitted, which I know that's the terminology, but we go from any to we're gonna say you can only have these businesses. These are the only businesses that meet our criteria.
Maybe we need to get rid of the word certain.
The word is currently in the code is any.
Well, because not any business is gonna be allowed to go in there.
That's what I'm saying. If people own this property, it's their property, they should be allowed to put what they want on it.
But-
Every business is allowed there.
No, you can't just put anything anywhere you want. I mean, you have to take into consideration your impacts and the way our current process is for this district is comes to council for approval. And there's not a whole lot this district gets undeveloped. There's maybe a couple of parcels.
But if you changed from certain to any, they would still have to come before council.
They will still have to come
So
before council.
why does it matter if we have any or
And it
if we
very
have
clearly
certain?
says such businesses shall be low impact, i.e. not inviting blah, blah, blah.
So if all the businesses have to come before council, why does it matter if we have certain or if we have any? On the wording.
So question, if on any of the empty lots we have, somebody was wanting to build more fourplexes or townhouses, does that fall under the, I'm trying to remember and I'm not, fall under a business and they have to get approval?
No.
Okay,
It's a
all right.
residential use.
Okay, thank you.
They're still permitted to build multifamily housing.
I thought so, but I just wanted to clarify, thank you.
Yeah. The only thing it does is add the setbacks, which were not there before. The setbacks are recommended to be those of residential use. Rather than building right to a lot line, for instance.
Can we make a motion, can I make a motion to change certain to any?
You can.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we change, strike certain, put it back to any in the residential business district on chapter 17.20.020, chapter where I am, D.
Well, it's actually under conditional uses.
Okay.
That's actually
Permitted
bad.
uses.
Okay. So all in favor of changing certain to any?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries, so we'll make that change. Any other proposed changes?
Then,
I would assume that we would still take out the propane tanks, not permitted in the front yards,
correct.
and the garage thing wasn't carried forward.
So I have a question here. Under 17.20.050, A, setbacks and building footprints for all buildings shall conform to the standards listed in residential fee district. And under rear yards, we have the 24 foot for single story, 30 feet for 2-story, and 36 feet for 3-story buildings. I think about like those townhouses that are on Dakota there, and some of those places, they do not have that kind of green area in their yards. So is that something that has to be a variance?
I think, this would only apply to new construction.
Yes, I understand that, but I'm just thinking if people had property and it was the same thing, what a difference that could make.
I think those are actually, I think those are in the commercial district, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I have to check the map, but I think it could be correct.
Okay.
Blocked back from the highway.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking maybe it was, wasn't the commercial, it was part of the B, but I could be wrong.
We can check
Okay.
the zoning map.
But you may be in the same situation, if say lot X is only so big, you want to put a fourplex there is no room for a backyard. Because it was commercial residential at one time, and say there was whatever else there, Cardinal Building Center, or whatever else is downtown that's got empty lots by it.
Downtown has its own district.
Well, in the business resident district, which is right off there towards the hospital.
So, I mean, developers who are intending to develop their property, they will, I mean, they'll figure out a way to design within the parameters that they're given. So, case in point, the Paganus figured out how many he could build in that location on 4th and Montana, tore down the building, and built it to code. So, I mean, someone who's going to do that would do it right.
The only thing I worry about is just it's kind of, it could be, it has the potential for changing things midstream. If somebody owns property, they have the intent to do, but they haven't been able to get to that one yet, and now we change the rules, then they have to try and either completely change or sell property. So.
Couldn't they come to city council and ask for a variance saying we were already doing this, and then you changed it, is it okay if I stick with what I was doing? And then we could take it a case-by-case deal.
I mean, there's always, we can't always guess about what people's intentions are, right? I mean, we're trying to solve a problem that has been an actual problem for city enforcement, administration, and interpretation. And so this was an attempt to try and solve this problem. And yes, some people, I don't know, there's always going to be somebody that gets, I mean,
Right, but that's
I've had that happen to me before.
Right, well, and that's what I was saying, if somebody was in the middle of something, they could come to us and say, hey,
sure.
I was in the middle of doing this, and you guys did this, and can you think about it? I mean, at least there's that venue, that avenue where they can talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other adjustments to this section?
I think someone needs to make a motion about the propane tanks.
Okay. And I was trying to see, did the garage thing didn't come forward that I can find it?
No.
Okay. So it would be just 1220.040, section B. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we strike B in the residential business, section 17.20.040B.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So any other adjustments to this? You will have a second opportunity to look at it with the corrections made at the next meeting and examine it for any further items before we go into to first and second readings. So.
Because Because A and B under the performance standards, I just don't. I don't know if I totally like those ones. The only part on B that I don't like is when it says height of buildings may not be taller than adjacent properties that are in a different district and may not exceed 45 feet. I understand. But how many, does it take just one building adjacent to them to not be able to build more than a one-story?
I thought that was supposed to be within a certain number of feet taller than the building. When we discussed that, wasn't it? The neighboring, because you have to have graduated stuff, you just can't have everybody the same, so I thought we had feet.
I don't recall that at all. But you could add that provision within a certain percentage or something.
Could we not just have it height of buildings?
You could strike that first provision?
May not exceed the 45 feet?
Sure.
So you're proposing...
Okay, I'll make a motion that 17.20.050, we change B to height of buildings may not exceed 45 feet.
Second.
So B would read height of buildings may not exceed 45 feet. See conditional use above.
Correct. And the
Okay.
conditional use had to do with the evaluating it under a conditional use
Okay.
process.
Yeah. That's
So-
what we had feet.
Are you ready to
So-
vote? None? We have a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So,
I just have to say, I'm sorry, things come to me a little late, but, the way that would read then is, a house and then 45 feet, like they could do that then. We don't want that, right?
Well, that's what the zoning commission talked about, was the starkness of impeding someone's sunlight, their view shed.
Right.
Any number of things. If your house is 15 feet and all of a sudden you have a structure that's 45 feet.
That's why I thought we
adjacent.
had a feet thing in
We
there.
didn't talk about
so I'm going to break that tie and
Is there
keep
something
that conversation going since it's already going.
Yeah,
other
sorry.
It's okay.
in other
Madam Mayor,
zones,
please keep order in your meeting.
in other zonings and other communities that maybe have what she was talking, feet or percentages or something that we should look at putting
that.
instead?
Well, there's usually a transition zone. I mean, and
Okay.
this is our transition district
Okay.
between residence and full commercial. This is sort of an in-between.
Okay.
Okay.
So what are you
You could
doing
lower
with
the
it?
height, you could,
I'm
you
going to
could stay
vote
within,
is it
you know,
to post
10 feet.
in order to keep that sentence intact at the moment, for the moment.
Okay.
It's always possible to go back and adjust it later.
Okay. Alrighty.
Anything else?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. So, are you ready for public comment? And as I said, you will have another we'll get the changes made and out, and you will have another opportunity to look at them. So, if you're through, I'll open it for public comment regarding these zoning changes as been proposed.
Jenkins, Dakota Avenue. I'll try to speak to what I recall since we did not have copies of anything that you guys were looking at. I thank you for striking the garage thing. I can tell you that I know of many residences in town that back in the day they were allowed to build out so far to the edge of their property that they can't even get to the backyard to have a garage. So I'm sure that lots of people in the city will probably be happy with the fact that they can still have some sort of cover for their vehicles. As for the fire pits, I'd like to say thank you for striking that. Some people don't have a backyard, and if you have a corner lot, what's the front yard, what's the backyard? So appreciate you thinking about that. And the last thing I'd like to say is, as for the feet, you know, I understand the transition, but back in the day, if you drive around the older parts of the town here, you'll see that there's places that are like this and places right next door that are like that. So.
Okay. Any other public comment, Mr. Orr?
So, some of the best productive discussion I've ever witnessed at a council meeting. And that's a comment from DC Orr, so pat yourself on the backs. I couldn't keep up with it because the mayor made sure that the public did not have copies of what you guys were discussing. The mayor also said in the agenda that this would be discussion, yet I counted 6 votes. Now, I should have been able to comment 3 minutes on each and every vote, but I wasn't allowed to. That's illegal. That is a violation of my right to participate. That's a constitutional issue. Good golly. So anyway, you took action when it says there was going to be discussion. We were denied the info. The mayor did not keep order, so he had 4 or 5 people talking at one time. But my concerns with all of this have to do with the memo that was put out that said all other items have been addressed in some manner through the monthly meetings of the commission. Now that's just patently offensive. I've stood up here time after time after time and told you that the chair won't let me speak at her commission meetings. The chair does not keep order in her meetings either. Now, the chair does not keep minutes. You guys, each and every committee is a subdivision of a governmental agency. There are laws in place that tell you how you have to run your meetings. Part of running the meetings are that you keep minutes. I went back and looked at their agendas. There was never any provision for approving minutes. Now I know that this chair, when she ran this as a planning board, doing zoning work, I commented on that 4 or 5 years ago. And so she phonied up some minutes. They weren't accurate. There wasn't any agenda that said they approved minutes. That is illegal, you guys. You can't do that. You're a subdivision of a government. You're subject to the law. You're not above the law. Great discussion. And we'll have more time to discuss it more, but I got robbed out of 18 minutes of being able to discuss this with you tonight. You probably could have done some better if I'd been allowed to discuss it. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Thank you for visiting some of those topics. Only suggestion I have is maybe gather some info, these transition zones that you're speaking of, and you can maybe do a site visit so you can kind of get a good vision of what that looks like. Might help a little bit. I know that some of these buildings that have come through the process and have been approved for build, I'm glad that they did go through that process because of the setbacks. These larger buildings, the crowding of the alleys. She brought it up also about the crowding out into our right-of-ways where there could be a line of sight restriction or into the alleyways. It creates havoc for neighboring properties and as far as maintenance goes. So obviously the higher you go, I'm sure there's some code that says there's got to be a width and depth as far as the structure goes, etc. Right? I'd be my only encouragement is if you can get out and look to kind of see what that looks like. It might help you as far as giving you some visual on what you're shooting for, because it helps. I mean, it helps me. It helps the direction we're headed. But I like the discussion here that you guys are looking at, thinking of this. There's a lot of stuff out there that's been just kind of pushed through in years past, or however it got to where it's at now, and then we're kind of looking at it as like, wow. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other public to offer public comment, so move on to approval claims received to date.
Make a motion we approve all claims received to date.
Second.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to see the claims? Okay. In public comment on approving the claims? Public comment on the claims. Then all in favor of the claims?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There aren't any business licenses today. It brings us to the Community Development Fund policy and discussion. Appreciated you all coming that hour early and listening to the presentation from Montana West. I'm not sure if you learned anything that was helpful to you. I keep hearing what we don't want to do, but I'm never hearing what we do want to do. So we're kind of...
I will make it clear, grant writer.
Okay. But that's a use of the money. That's not a part of the policy. Okay?
Okay.
But it is a place to start on what we want to do with the money and where we sit with that amount of money. I think we could do several things.
Okay.
We just need to find out what the ideas are and start shaking them out.
Okay. Any other comment?
Well, I still think that a grant writer, while important, is cutting us short. I think we need a little higher level of sophistication for this community because we are currently lacking any community development with KRDC being dormant. We've had no projects in 3 years that we've leveraged our monies with from a community development perspective. So a community development director would be a little more robust position. It would really help facilitate those community relationships, maintaining the relationship with MWED, for instance, all the other organizations that have monies, that have needs, and I think we have grown into that need.
What would be your example of a community development project? I mean, what are you looking at? What are you thinking?
I don't have one currently that I'm thinking of, but the recent ones that we worked on were the wayfinding signs, for instance. That's a community development project. Sorry.
Playground.
The playground is a community.
So something that benefits the entire community.
Yeah.
Where I don't feel that the community development funds being a grant-making option that doesn't encompass the whole community. It's in there with the loans. Although Melissa did, and you as well, Kristen, was it you? I don't know.
But I do.
About taking some of the money and making it available for loans at a community development type of level to get some of the smaller businesses that can't get bank funding. And I'm not horribly opposed to that. But I do think it should be something that the entire community can benefit from.
Well, yeah, and I mean, but to have a professional organization that's what they do, I mean, that Mark has, they have a very successful track record of managing money and properly vetting businesses before lending money.
Right.
So
Yeah,
if we were to just take a fraction of our funds and make that available to our local businesses, who many, as we've heard tonight, people struggle with finances. If they struggle to get a bank loan because you don't look good on paper, this is another source for them to pursue their business idea.
Like I said, maybe we can do several things.
Okay.
With it. I know minerals are wreck. So the sidewalks make me nuts. And that would benefit the entire community.
Would it though, or would it just benefit the downtown corridor?
Well, it serves the entire community.
Right.
The community.
Everybody goes downtown at some point or something.
It is the hub of our,
I will point out that better sidewalks would facilitate the Halloween walk.
They would facilitate a lot of things, like
And
no broken legs.
The chainsaw carving contest is down in those lower blocks, and some of those are the worst blocks of sidewalk that we have.
Yeah.
And if you're on with a walker or a cane or mobility impaired, it's very difficult.
Well, I mean, I could argue that, the Balsam not having sidewalks is an issue because you're going to see kids get hit by cars.
We have tried, tried to.
I agree. Yeah. Sidewalks for the kids as well in other areas.
So, anything else? Move on to general comments from the council.
I have one comment.
Okay.
Thank you to zoning for all of your hard work updating this.
Thank you, and I recognize that we do not have a minute taker in our commission right now, and I suppose that falls on me, but in defense of myself as the one council member who produces the greatest volume of work, it is very difficult to draft this and do minutes as well. And so I'm a little tired of the bullying. I have no conflicts. If anyone would like to talk to me or ask me about any potential conflicts, please do. But I think we did a really good job at the commission, and it was prepared and presented, recommended unanimously.
Don't we have a fix that we're kind of working on for the minute situation?
Yeah, I understand Leanne's got identified a program that will help with that.
So you and Jennifer were looking at something.
It is the AI program that I worked with this last year. And it, as the audio goes in there, the more it learns, it actually keeps a better record of what is being said, and you can actually take it and go into like an outline of it, or go into a transcript of it, a summarize of it. So maybe that would help. Try to use that.
Absolutely, and thank you, Leanne.
So, any other council comments? Then I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
How do we get copies of everything that is?
Nope, I can get you a copy.
On the
Yep.
agenda per month.
They were, yeah, on
I
their
was going to
last
say
time.
they were attached to the.
Yeah, I can get you a copy.
Last.
They were on the
month's
last
agenda.
agenda.